Very well. Hello, everybody. This is Jackie Cox coming to you, and it is Fun Friday again. And I am just astonished at how quickly Q4 is going already. Here it is, October 20th. We're already a month into official fall. And I'm excited to have Abby Gardner here with me today. Abby is the main person, the CEO for Abby Cooks Wild, and she is amazing at what she does. So Abby, welcome to Fun Friday for today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm going to introduce Abby really quickly, and then we're just going to have a fun conversation. Abby, as you know, is super creative in the kitchen. That's a place I'm not super creative. So, I've hired her to help me along in that space, but she's going to share some of her tips along the way as well. So Abby Gardner is a wife, a mom, a self-taught home cook, and owner of Abby Cooks Wild. She helps time-strapped individuals and families find solutions to their dinner dilemmas through her services, which include fully customized and curated meal prep and delivery catering for small events, retreats, and an online monthly supper club. Abby worked in sports medicine and orthopedics for over 20 years as a certified athletic trainer, triaging athletic injuries and helping rehabilitate athletes at all levels of competition, from Pop Warner football to Olympic and professional. That's so cool. So cool.
I have some stories.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. That's awesome. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science from Arizona State University and a master's degree in Health Services Administration from Regis University. When she's not in the kitchen, in her own kitchen, you can find her spending time with her family, reading one of the 10 books piled up on her nightstand, or traveling to fun places all around the world. So again, welcome to the show for Abby Gardner. So Abby, I'm super excited to have you.
Oh, thank you.
So just tell us a little bit about you and your business a little bit. How did you get started, and what was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, well, like most solopreneurs, I guess, it kind of happened to me. I wasn't really looking, well, shouldn't say that. I was passively looking for something to do. My son had just started kindergarten, and
Wow.
I had a lot of guilt around calling myself a stay-at-home mom when I had two kids in school from 8 to 3 every day. So I was kind of passively looking for something to do. I didn't want to go back into sports medicine. And I was introduced to a company that was more like a direct sales kind of model, but they did in-home meal prep parties where you'd send out a shopping list and then everyone would bring their stuff to one person's house and they'd assemble 10 dinners. And I learned a lot during the couple of years that I did that, namely that the people that were at the party didn't want to be there any more than I did. They were there to get dinner. They were there to get dinners made. And so I started paying attention to these conversations and realized that there was a gap that needed to be filled. And so I created Abby Cooks Wild, and it's kind of evolved over time, as you know, into what it is. But I kind of noticed that there was a gap. And so Abby Cooks Wild was created to fill that gap.
Oh, that's amazing. And it is such a gap too. I mean, I know I personally am one of those that says, I work from home. And so the last thing I think of, honestly, is dinner, because I'm kind of in my zone, and I'm in my office and things like that. And by the time Jeff, my husband, gets home, I don't want to, he never really makes me feel guilty, but I kind of self-project that guilt onto myself of like, oh, there's got to be something on the table again. I mean, we've got to eat, right? And so it's that constant struggle. And I know I am not alone in that.
No, you're not. And I think we as women, especially women business owners, I don't know where the rule is written, but somewhere we all have made it our responsibility to be the one who does the cooking and the shopping and all of the stuff. And it's silly. Like there's no reason for that. Now, I know I have friends whose husbands are the main cook for their family, and I envy them. I ruined my husband very early on in our relationship. So that ship has sailed for me. But I know that my kids, having grown up seeing me in the kitchen and cooking with me in the kitchen, it has inspired them, and they aren't afraid to be in the kitchen.
Awesome.
My daughter just texted me from school the other day. She made her boyfriend chocolate chip cookies and she was so proud of herself.
That's
And
sweet.
my son will go in the kitchen if he's hungry and he'll make himself a quesadilla or a grilled cheese. And I know that sounds kind of elementary, but I take it as a win, because he knows that he can safely operate the stovetop. He knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So where do you find that creativity around cooking? Because again, as I mentioned earlier, it's, for me, that's not my space of genius where I am creative. I'm creative in a lot of other ways, not so much the kitchen. And typically, and Jeff has made fun of me through the years, I've gotten better, but through the years where I'll follow a recipe to a T, and I'm not talking baking, because baking is chemistry and you have to
Baking is chemistry. Yeah.
But with cooking, you can toss things in or whatever, but I would follow recipes to a T to know I'd have a kind of a baseline. So how do you find that you get that creativity in there?
Well, I'll be, I'm creative in some ways. I'll take risks in my cooking in some ways, but in many ways, I'm very much like you. I like having my recipes. I like having it all kind of spelled out for me. Where I get creative is when I am super confident with that recipe. So I'll start taking liberties with recipes where I know how it's going to turn out. Or I know where I can throw things in and not ruin it.
Yeah.
But I'm also really creative and will take some risks with trying new recipes. Like, so many people get stuck in a rut. Maybe it's because it's easy. Maybe it's because they know what the end result is going to be. They're confident with that, with that gamut of whatever it is they're working with. But I rarely make the same thing twice.
Oh, nice.
So when I'm serving clients too, when I'm curating menus, I tell all my clients, if you pick something and you love it, write it down and keep a running list, because you will not see it on another menu. I don't repeat. I don't.
Interesting.
So I think from that standpoint, that's where the creativity kind of kicks in, because I want variety. I mean, it's no fun to be bored. Life's too short to be eating boring food.
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree. I always just am so happy when, I work with a nutritionist as well, Megan McGee, and she's amazing, but I always am so impressed with myself when I have more color than, typically a one color palette or whatever. And so I'm always so impressed with myself when I'm like, look, there's yellows and there's greens and there's reds in here. And I'm really proud of myself, but,
and you should be.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, through the years, it has taken me some time to get more creative in the kitchen, but you have come along and you've helped with that. And it's so beautiful. Like, your menus are just so easy, and it takes all of the mind power out of what's for dinner tonight. And I love that. I love that. And Jeff actually came home to me one day, and he and I were kind of at a crossroads. He was thinking we needed a cleaner, and I was like, oh no, we don't need a cleaner. We can do that on our own. We need Abby. And he was like, what? And this was the final straw, Abby. I think I've shared this with you. I made pancakes one night for dinner. I mean, breakfast for dinner is sometimes fun, but it shouldn't be a norm. And I was making pancakes and eggs because it's really all we had in the house, and it's really all I had the brain power to think about. And I was like, he goes, we were at this crossroads, and I said, no, it's time for Abby, because I don't want to be thinking of what is for dinner all the time. It just, like, that question stresses me out.
You and so many people. And it something that I've learned too over the years that I've been doing this is, people say they hate cooking. It isn't the cooking that people hate. Right. It's everything else. And so that's what I do. I do that everything else, and then set it up so people can cook it, which is like a beautiful thing. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing. So talk to me about how you got into helping clients, like in your retreat space and things like that. I know you've helped, Julius and me, and you've helped some people along the way.
It kind of, again, kind of happened organically. Someone I know, well, someone we both knew, Julie,
Yeah.
asked me to help her get, have some food available for clients who were attending a retreat. And this was when her retreats were new and she was still trying to figure it all out. And I was happy to do that. And so, yeah, I just kind of, started doing it that way. And over time have kind of found my lane in that space, where I come in and I don't always do the cooking, but I sometimes do. It kind of depends on the event itself. Many times I just do all of the prep work for the meals and then deliver them, and for whoever's hosting the retreat to throw in the oven for dinner, or get breakfast ready for their guests or whatever. But yeah, it just kind of was a happy accident, and I so enjoy doing it. It makes me, it kind of fulfills me. I feel like I feel like I'm feeding an extension of my family in some
Yeah.
ways,
Oh, I love that.
and that makes me happy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate between, I mean, oftentimes you hear creatives or graphic designers or someone they're so creative all the time for their clients. And then when they come to do it for themselves, it's like they've kind of lost their connection to it. So how do you differentiate that between your family cooking and keeping it nice and fun and new and recipes that are fulfilling for them, as well as then feeling creative for your clients?
Um, I I don't know if I do differentiate. I think I think they kind of are symbiotic. Is that the right word? But
Yeah,
like my family are my taste testers
I
for
love it. I love
recipes.
it.
So if I see, and I source my recipes from all kinds of different things. From I have a cookbook addiction. So I have a huge arsenal of cookbooks that I love to try things from. But in addition to that, I'm looking at blogs and all that kind of stuff. But if I see something that I'm like, oh, that sounds really good, I'll make it for my family. And if it passes the taste test, then I'll start adding it to menus for clients. If it falls short of what I think, sometimes I'll try something and it sounds amazing and I get it on the table and I'm like, this is really bland, or this is too salty. I'll adjust it and then offer it for clients. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
Yeah.
I rely on my husband and my kids and their palates a lot. And I try to offer my clients a wide variety,
Yeah.
so that they don't get bored. I don't want people getting bored.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Well, so your kids then, talking about that, I remember being, I mean, as a kid, my parents did me no favors by letting us be so incredibly picky. And I mean, again, I love them and I love what they did for us, because it was like they were kind of appeasing my brother and I, but at the same time, they let us be pretty picky for a lot of years, and all the way up until I was into my 20s, where I thought, peppers were hot, bell peppers were hot. And so how did you kind of work through that with your kids? I'm sure a lot of people would love to know that too. I mean,
Yeah.
your son, I mean, he's 13 now, but you've been doing this for the last 8 years. So from going from 5 to 13, that's quite the palate range.
Yeah. My daughter is a really good eater, always has been. And I will say she's a little more adventurous than my son, but my son is adventurous in different ways than my daughter. So I don't want to say that either of them are picky. My son is definitely a little more selective. It's not necessarily like mushrooms are a no-go for him, whereas my daughter,
in my 40s.
my daughter loves them. I love them. My husband loves them. So, a lot of times dishes that have mushrooms are problematic for me to make at home, because if I put them in there, I get the side eye. And because he doesn't subscribe to picking around things. So I have to be really mindful, if a dish calls for mushrooms, not to include them in his portion. Most of the time I just opt not to make dishes with mushrooms, but And then like when he was really little, I'm trying to think, he was always pretty good. I mean, here's the thing. I was really anally retentive when I was pregnant with my daughter, my first baby. I followed the rules probably too closely. Like back then, like the doctors would give you a list. You couldn't have tuna after so many times a week and all of this kind of stuff. Couldn't have sushi, couldn't have meat from the deli counter. And I was like wired so tight. I didn't do any of those things. With my son, it went the other way. I was like, screw this. Women have been having babies longer than the doctors have been telling us not to eat X, Y, and Z. And so this is not something I'm proud of. I'm just going to share this right now, but this is a funny story. So for the first 6 weeks I was pregnant with him, oh my God, I can't believe I'm telling you this. I went through a dozen donuts from King Soopers, the chocolate covered donuts from King Soopers. 1 dozen a week for the first 6 weeks. Can I tell you, I have not had a donut since then, like ever. So I think it happened in utero. I think I ruined him in utero because I wasn't eating junk food when I was pregnant with him, but I do feel like what I did eat during those first few months of being pregnant with him was so drastically different. And the way they eat, to answer your question, I know this is long, but
it's okay.
They're so different. And Macy, if given the choice between an apple and a candy bar, she'll choose the apple. Gage, choose the candy bar every time.
Oh, interesting.
It's really interesting. So I think there is some connection to how I fed myself when I was pregnant with each of them that has come through with them and has stayed as they've grown. So, you know, Gage will eat healthy, but he has to kind of be reminded about that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's
of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and so Abby, so talk to us your travels throughout the world and things like that. I know you do. And so I could talk to you about cooking and traveling all day, I think. So as you are traveling and you're trying new foods and you're experiencing their cultures and what they have to offer, how does are you mindful of that when you're traveling like that and really aware of the differences or anything like that?
Yeah, for example, and I know you've been there, so you'll understand this too, Italy.
Yes.
Like, you can go to Italy and you can eat your way through a bakery and it is completely different. And I don't know how else to describe it unless you've been there, but the bakeries in Europe, and this is, I think, across the board, but they have a way of making things not overly sweet. They're delicate, they're light, they're airy, they're decadent, and you want more, but you're not a glutton for it. Whereas here, you go to a bakery and it is so heavy with sugar, and it leaves you craving more, and you don't even want it. Like, it doesn't even taste good, but you go back and you get more. You're sated and you're satisfied and you're happy with the stuff in Europe. I don't know how else to describe it. And then here's the other thing too, and this is kind of swinging back the other way, but the way they grow their food in Europe is so different than how we grow our food here. And we really could take a lesson from the way they do things there, because the people that live there are healthier, because what they're doing to their soil is responsible and ethical. They're taking care of their soil. Big pharma here, it's ruining our soil. So those are the things I think about when I'm traveling. I don't know.
So I know that you yourself and I believe your family are mostly gluten-free, correct? Or you're
I think I'm working with the same dietitian you are. And I've had to make some concessions because menopause. I don't miss the gluten. I don't miss the gluten and I don't miss the dairy. For me, sugar is my kryptonite, and that's been hard. But yeah, I can go to Europe and eat gluten.
Right.
But I'm
That's
not
where I was going.
celiac. I'm not, but I can tell if I eat gluten, I don't feel well. And it's not I don't believe it's gluten. I believe it's the way the wheat is being grown here.
Yeah.
If I could find a way to get flours from Europe, I would not be getting gluten.
Yeah. And see, I've heard, that's where I was going with my question, because I've heard so many people say that. I mean, we've had travel companions with us as well that are gluten intolerant here in the States, or, pretty close to celiac, not quite celiac, but close. And they can go over there and they can moderately eat some of the things over there and be okay. And it's just because of the over processed and the chemicals and things like that are in our foods and in our soils in the US. Yes, it's a major problem, and you and I aren't going to solve the world problems in 30 minutes, but
no.
But
And I don't want to, that's
yeah.
not for me to solve. That's for
Yeah,
other people to solve. But I think if you are more mindful about what choices you're making to fuel your body with, you kind of come to that conclusion on your own. You can kind of gauge what's making me feel energized and what is making me feel like I need to go take a 10-year nap.
Right. 10-year nap. I love it. So, as we're still on the travel piece of it, what is one of the most unique foods you've eaten while you've been traveling?
Oh, wow. Okay. I need to think about this. We've been to so many places. I'm trying to think.
I love your travels.
Okay. Well, off the top of my head, I remember we went on a cruise to Alaska earlier this year, and Macy shocked me, my daughter. She ordered escargot.
Really?
And she ate it. She ate it. So I was really proud of her for that. I'm trying to think, for me, traveling, what have I had that's been super? I can't think of anything that's jumping off of the. I'm sure I'll, when we're done, I'll be like, oh, I had this and I had this and I had this, but under the gun, I can't think of anything too crazy. I know I didn't eat it while I was traveling, but I did try camel.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Interesting.
I probably wouldn't. I'm not going to say I wouldn't do it again, but I might not do it the same way I did it.
Sure. Now, does it taste kind of like a wild game as far as
it's got like a sweetness to it, but it also has some sort of, there was like an aftertaste to it that really wasn't super pleasant, but I don't think that had to do with the meat. I think that had to do with how it was cooked. And I would share, for those of you who live in Denver who are interested, it was at the Edgewater, what are they called? Food hall.
Oh, you're kidding, really?
No, there's a burger place there. They have like wild boar and camel and elk and all that kind of stuff. And the most exotic one they had that I thought was the camel. So I tried it. And I think it was the way the camel was cooked. Because I've had yak, I've had other kinds of meat and haven't had that experience. So I would give it another try. But it's definitely sweeter. It's sweeter than if you've had bison or bison leans a little sweeter than ground meat. But so it was sweeter than that. But there was an aftertaste to it. I was like, I don't know if I like this or not.
Interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting of how things are cooked too. I mean, it really does matter. As you know, I grew up on a buffalo ranch. And so, we were always told, making sure you're cooking buffalo or bison really slow, let it cook naturally. Don't try to force it. You don't really need to go much more than a medium or medium rare with bison. And so it's just interesting how things are cooked can really make the difference.
Absolutely.
And in what you eat. I mean, I think for me, the most exotic thing that I've probably eaten is rabbit. And that was here in Evergreen at one point. And it didn't sit well. And I'm willing to try it again, but it was not prepared very well. And so it was like, ooh, it just, you get that sensation of watering mouth and things like that. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done with that. I'd be willing to try it again, but it's all in how it's prepared. Anything can
absolutely
be made or make or break, right?
Yeah. I know when I was in Peru, I had wanted to try it and I opted not to because I was leery. It's called cuy, but basically it's guinea pig. It's a delicacy there.
Okay.
So,
Interesting. Yeah.
And Phoenix's husband, Eric, ordered it at the hotel one night, and I wanted to try it, and I opted not to, but he said it tasted a lot like duck.
Oh,
So if you've
sure,
ever had duck
sure.
is one of those things that has to be prepared very carefully, because if you don't prepare it well, it gets really greasy.
Yes.
Um, and it doesn't taste good. So
So
yeah. So I was like,
interesting.
okay, I've had duck. I don't think I need to try the cuy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's good to know. I mean, we're excited for our trip next year.
Yeah, you're gonna have a great time. Yeah.
It will be. It will be awesome. And I'm a lot more open than I was even a decade ago. I mean,
Yeah.
I've come a long way. I mean, even in the last 5 years, I've had sushi, which I refused to try prior to that.
Yeah.
Just I was so nervous of things, right? I was,
Mhm.
and that's like in general,
Yeah.
restaurants are not trying to kill you.
No.
So if you go to
No,
a
they're not.
restaurant, trying new things is
Yeah.
perfectly okay, right? Because they're trying to impress you. They're trying
Right.
to, have you come back and things like that.
Exactly.
Would I have tried sushi at home first? No, I never
No.
would have, right?
Yeah.
Because, or like Jeff, we have an Asian part of our market in King Supers. And so Jeff does bring home himself
Yeah.
some sushi. I wouldn't have tried it that way first. I
Yeah.
would, but because it's still fresh, but there's certain
Yeah.
things where you just want to try them and know it's done right the first time.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes, for
So,
sure. For sure.
but awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, I could talk to you about this all day. So what do you have on your agenda and your quarter 4 goals, and what are you working on that you want people to know about right now?
Well, I just launched a newsletter, so I'm super proud of that, for a couple of reasons. But I'm getting great feedback on it. So for anyone who's interested and wants to go check it out, go to the website, abbykookswild.com, and sign up to receive the next one. It's going to go out probably within the next couple of weeks. I've got one that's a holiday edition, but it goes out quarterly.
Nice.
And then I have if you're looking for food to help you get through the holidays, because most people this time of year are thinking about 2 dinners, Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we've got 58 other days of the year that we have to
Love
get
that.
dinner on the table. So if you're looking to have some backups available in your freezer, I do have a freezer teaser special that I'm running. It's a 4-pack of slow cooker options. So you just keep it in your freezer till you're ready, and then dump it in your crock pot and walk away. So would love to answer questions about that, or
Yeah.
whatever. So you can email me through the website, and happy to engage there.
Oh, I love that. I love that freezer teaser. That's so fun. I love that. To our audience that are watching, I mean, I've been using Abby for a few months now, and I love what she's doing. I first experienced her food at a retreat that I attended, and it was just incredible. And I knew it was incredible. I just hadn't tried her food yet prior to that, but having the meals and not having to worry about it. I mean, tonight we're having egg roll meatballs. And so it's super easy. She has a monthly subscription, or she can work with you on timing, and she delivers them to you and gets you, or meets you halfway of somewhere of where you can get them to you. But it's really a great program, and it's so reasonable. I mean, truly, when you factor in time, energy, and the daunting question of what's for dinner tonight, she helps you and takes all of that at ease. So definitely connect with Abby at abbykookswild.com on her website. I'll put it in the link as well once we're done here. But oh my gosh, you got to go with Abby. She's so creative with her food. She really customizes it to what you need and want. I've told her I don't like mushrooms. She keeps the mushrooms out. It's nice. I'm super grateful. So Abby, anything else you'd like to add before I, share a little bit of what we have going on with Jaycox Coaching?
No, I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to share this time with you. This has been a lot of fun. And obviously, if you come across other people, or if you're watching this and you know someone who could benefit from any of the things that Jacki mentioned that I offer, I would love to have the opportunity to help you out.
Awesome. Stick around for a minute. Abby will wrap this up, but everybody, thank you for being on Fun Friday. A couple things that are coming up for Jaycox Coaching. I have a Create Balance workshop that's coming up on Friday, November 10th, up here at our geodesic dome. You can see we have fun angles, and it's a creative house. here
It's a great
is
house.
so I'm doing that workshop again, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. that day. Lunch is provided, and we do a creative activity as well as get ourselves outside a little bit to release all the things we just broke through. And so that is coming up November 10th. And then I do have a vision board workshop coming up in Colorado Springs on Friday, December 15th. I know it seems early to start planning for it, but it's not too early to start planning for your 2024. And we do that during that vision board workshop. That's going to go from 2 to 5 on Friday, December 15th in Colorado Springs. So both of those events are on swirlsllc.com. Go to my events page and you'll find us right there. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us on Fun Friday. And Abby, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you. This was great.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, everybody, I'm going to stop Facebook here. Okay. So we should be good to go. Now it's on Facebook already. And then, oh, actually, I meant to stop the recording too.